And look at the wisdom of God. I'm just about finished now. Malcolm went out of the nation. We all were hurt. At least I can speak for myself. I loved him. Next to Elijah Muhammad, I didn't know anybody greater than Malcolm X. It hurt me that he would go out of the nation. But then the worst hurt was Malcolm going to Mike Wallace, telling Mike Wallace, and listen to the words now, Elijah Muhammad fathered children from his teenage secretaries. So Malcolm raised it to a moral issue. Listen to me carefully. Putting himself in the righteous position, putting his teacher in an immoral position, but then he's going to the white man to tell the white man what his leader and teacher had done. He did it with Mike Wallace. You can't deny this. This is actual fact. He came here to Chicago and went to Cups and Net. When has Cups and Net been a friend of black people? And he told Cup, Elijah Muhammad, I thought he was a man. Fathered these children and wouldn't, in other words, kept it a secret and whatnot. I found that he was less man than I thought. Oh. He dogged the messenger. The man that took him from a pimp, from a hustler, from a stick-up man, and sent him before the world. Now he's dogging his teacher. What do you think we felt? Elijah Muhammad wasn't just a leader. That's our spiritual guide and father, brother. You don't have to order me to kill you. If you attack my father, my orders come from my love. I want you to hear me good, because every Muslim that loved Elijah Muhammad would have killed Malcolm if we had gotten a chance. No, I don't need no damn applause. I want you to think now. We didn't incite that. Malcolm incited that in us. He would have been dead. He would never have lasted a year. Elijah Muhammad told us, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Told me to my face, leave him alone. And I'm an obedient servant. Elijah Muhammad enough that if you attack him, I would kill you. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And I'm not a killer, but neither are you. But if somebody attack what you love, each one of you in here would become a killer instantaneously. Am I lying? Mother, let somebody look like they're attacking your child. Here's a woman who fought a bear because the bear snatched her baby. And she ran the bear down, screaming until the bear dropped her baby. Love casts out fear. We don't give a damn about no white man law when you attack what we love. And frankly, it ain't none of your business. What have you got to say about it? Did you teach Malcolm? Did you make Malcolm? Did you clean up Malcolm? Did you put Malcolm out before the world? Was Malcolm your traitor or was he ours? And if we dealt with him like a nation deals with a traitor, what the hell business is it of yours? best shut your mouth and stay out of it. Because in the future, we're going to become a nation. And the nation got to be able to deal with traitors and cutthroats and turncoats. The white man deals with his. The Jews deal with theirs. Salman Rushdie wrote a nasty thing about the prophet, and Imam Khomeini put out a death thing on him, and it stands today. There's certain paths you don't cross. Like I said last week, in every prophet's community, there were zealots. I'm telling you, Elijah Muhammad told us, leave that man alone. I believe Elijah Muhammad said he'll come back repentant. Leave him alone. At the same time that Malcolm went out, Wallace D. Muhammad went out too. And wrote in the Daily News, Chicago Daily News, and Sepia magazine, such ugly things about his father. And if it were not for the mercy of that father, that son would be dead, killed by one of his own brothers. But Elijah Muhammad said, leave him alone. Malcolm was his son. Aaron, yes, but leave him alone. You're not to judge him. Leave him alone. And we left him alone. I'm going to tell you something about the nation. The nation that I love. Some of these rotten ministers and leaders and captains were in the nation yesterday, and some are in the nation today. You don't like the way of God. If God say put them out, in your heart you don't think that's strong enough, so you want to beat somebody up, or you want to exact some kind of retribution on somebody as though you're a God beside God. You don't like my way because I'm a merciful man. Some of you are hypocrites right now. Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't send me to beat black people or shoot black people, but to teach black people. And you'll always find me defending black people because he showed me how to defend my people. But you know, sisters and brothers, in the Bible, David had a son called Absalom. And Absalom rose up against his father David and violated David's wives in the presence of all of Israel and made war on the father. And when the father's forces went out to meet the forces of the son, David told Joab, when you catch my son, don't kill him. Bring my son to me. Absalom had long hair, according to the Bible, and he was caught up in a tree. And Joab, even though the king said, leave him alone, Joab wanted to be a law unto himself. He allowed his emotion and his hatred for what that son had done to take control, and he speared Absalom through. And they brought the son of David back dead. And while all of Israel was rejoicing, you could hear David in his tent crying, saying over and over and over again, my son, my son, my son. I had an experience with this. Have any of you ever had an out-of-the-body experience? Well, if you haven't, I have. I was in Boston, and all of a sudden my spirit seemed to rise right up out of my body, and I could see myself floating above the trees and the highways. And I found myself in Chicago. And as I was coming around the house of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad at 4847 South Woodlawn, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was in the room of Warith Deen Muhammad. And he was sitting on his bed, on Wallace's bed, looking toward the door with his back to the window. And he was crying the deepest cry that I ever heard a man cry. You know, when a man cries and he's coming up from the gut, deep, 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 and he was saying over and over and over, my son, my son, my son. And I said to him through the window, dear apostle, I will be your son. And he never turned to acknowledge my presence at the window, so my spirit returned. And I watched myself go right back and get into my body. And I woke up and I started reading the Bible and found the words of David, and know that I heard the cry of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad over both Wallace and Malcolm. We have zealots in the nation, and we have agents in the nation. I believe the zealots in the mosque in Newark, as it has now come out that they were from the Newark mosque, killed Malcolm. But the hurting thing is, 2 innocent men went to prison for 25 years of their life. And they were sentenced to a prison term that they didn't deserve by the mouth of Betty Shabazz. Betty was so hurt at the death of her husband. Being in the mosque, she knew Thomas Johnson and Norman Butler, and she placed them at the scene of the crime when they were not there. And this same Betty, so vindictive and hurt, I can understand the hurt, got on LIB in New York and said that I, as well as some of Malcolm's brothers, were a part of an assassination committee to destroy her husband. Hypocrisy is a hell of a thing. So in my conclusion, the FBI knew that Malcolm was going to die. How did they know? Who informed them? In Spike's movie, when Malcolm was in the hotel, you saw the bug in the lampshade. That's to throw you off the track. They may have bugged the lampshade. But the scripture says, where there are 2 or 3 of you gathered together in my name, there I am also among you. That's the way it is with the FBI. Wherever there are 2 or 3 of you gathered together for whatever your righteous purpose is, that enemy agent is right there among us, playing like he's one of us. So the zealots, like Joab, could not respond to their leader's instruction. Their hatred for Malcolm was greater than their leader's instruction. Somebody told Malcolm to take the guards off the door. Don't let them search. And Malcolm went along with it. Malcolm was very confused, very upset, If you listened to his talk, you watched him when he was clean and firing, then when he got his beard and he was disheveled and he just didn't have it. And the same people that he whipped in debate began to beat up on Malcolm. Poor brother. Poor brother. He was writing to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to get back in the nation when he was assassinated. No uniformed policeman nowhere in the ballroom, but an agent. Gene Roberts was one of his bodyguards. And when Malcolm fell under the bullets, it was this agent who claimed to be giving Malcolm mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. It was an agent in the Panther Party that told the authorities where Fred Hampton would be sleeping. And they drugged our brother. And they shot so many holes in that apartment on the west side, there was no way that Fred Hampton and Mark Clark could have lived, and anybody that got out of there was lucky. It's always been agents and stool pigeons that set us up for the big devil. Was there an agent among those who assassinated Malcolm? Why were 2 arrested at the ballroom, as I said last week, and only 1 later was mentioned in the paper? 1 was dropped completely out of sight. When Spike Lee, and I'm going to tell you something about Spike. You may not like Spike. That's my brother. I love him. I think I understand him. Spike read the autobiography of Malcolm X. Spike fell in love with Malcolm, as many of you did. Spike was hurt that such a great one was lost to us. And Spike believed that Elijah Muhammad had him killed. And he makes a hint ever so slightly in his book, The Making of the Movie Malcolm X. He makes a hint that in his heart he wanted to get even with Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. So when Spike and I talked, and my son-in-law asked Spike, have you ever read the Holy Quran? Didn't you ask him that, Brother Leonard? What did he say? He said he had never read this book. So we asked him, on what basis are you going to judge the domestic life of Elijah Muhammad if you don't read and understand the book out of which he acted? Do you think that Malcolm X gave up Elijah Muhammad because of some sex thing? Do you really think it's that shallow? How could he? How many wives did Prophet Muhammad have, Brother Baghdadi? Some people say 9, some people say 11. Now, when Malcolm was slandering the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, talking about teenage secretaries, didn't the Prophet take a wife who was a pre-teenager? What was her name? Aisha. When he married her, how old was she? She was 11 years old. But he did not have conjugal relations with her until what year? They say 14. Well, Malcolm, how you going to leave Elijah, who had wives, some of them young women? And that man took you up out of the mud and cleaned you up. You didn't know nothing about no Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad didn't come and get you out of jail. It wasn't Umar, it wasn't Ali, it wasn't Abu Bakr, it wasn't Uthman. How you going to say you're going to dump a man that cleaned you up and then go follow the prophet that had 11 wives and one of his was a pre-teenager? Does that make sense? Come on. You know anything about Malcolm? You ever read his words, studied his teaching, or what he taught from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Do you think Malcolm could go to Mecca and be bamboozled, hoodwinked? I've been to Mecca many, many times. I ate food out of a bowl with white people, brown people, red people, yellow people. I drank water with black, brown, red, yellow, and white in Mecca. That didn't change me and make me think that there's no racism in Islam. I'm not no fool. And can't nobody fool me. I know what I'm looking at. Why in the hell is Africa so backward? Why won't the Saudis back Africa, back the Somalis? They're suffering in Somalia. Why didn't the Saudis send money there to feed them? Why you don't back the Muslims in Bosnia? Got some problems. You're not going to fool me that there is no color in Islam. You tell that to some other person. You don't tell that to me. I know better. Why are Muslim Arabs in the black community selling pig to my people? You know it's divinely forbidden, but you sell it. Yet the prophet said a man is not a Muslim till he wants for his brother what he wants for himself. So evidently you don't see us as your brother because we're in a savage condition. Nobody wants us until God came to claim us as his own. So Malcolm is dead. And the sisters who were the wives of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have been slandered. You don't ask a man if he's married, are you having sex with your wife? The question is moot. If that's my wife, I have a right to that. So why didn't Malcolm say he took wives? Why did he say teenage secretaries? Because he knew that would inflame you. And it would keep you away from Elijah Muhammad because he had become embittered. Now I conclude. In that scenario, was Malcolm worthy to sit in the seat of Elijah Muhammad and lead? And be a redeemer of our people? Wait. How many of you ever read the story in the Bible of Noah and his sons? Did you know that Noah had 3 sons? Noah got all of them out of the flood. They landed on Mount Ararat, you remember? According to the Bible. He sent a raven out. The raven didn't come back. He sent a dove out. The dove came back. He came outside of the ark. According to the Bible, he got drunk and was naked laying in the sand. 2 sons refused to look on his nakedness and covered him. And another son called Ham looked down at his nakedness and mocked the man who got him out of the flood. And Noah cursed him. And God upheld the curse, according to the Bible. Now you look at Elijah Muhammad. Did he get Malcolm out of Malcolm's condition? If he saw the leader in that condition, what should he have done? Cover him. Since the leader covered him, why don't you cover the leader and wait till understanding comes? Why would you go to the enemy of both of you? He became vindictive. He was hurt and bitter. Now, let me conclude. I know it's long. Don't tell me. I've been preaching all day. You know how I know Malcolm's shoes? Did you know that before Spike made the movie, that this brother was trying to make the movie Malcolm X? You didn't know that, did you? I never told you, but Brother Akbar knows. Were you with me when I went overseas? Thank you. Come out here, Brother Akbar, since you've been with me a long time. Would you stand over here? My brother and I have been together a long time. When Godfrey Cambridge died, Brock Peters called my wife, and I was on my way to California in an automobile, and I happened to stop in New Mexico. And I called my wife, and she told me to call Brock Peters because Godfrey Cambridge, the comedian, had died, and they wanted me to speak at his funeral. I spoke at Godfrey Cambridge's funeral, and at the funeral was Maya Angelou, James Baldwin, Cicely Tyson. All Hollywood was there. And when it was over, we went back to Brock's house, and I was sitting with Maya Angelou and James Baldwin. And I told James Baldwin, I would like to do a movie on the life of Malcolm. I think it would be the greatest help to bring people from the street to Islam. James Baldwin said, I wrote the first script. He said, I don't know nobody that could do it better than you. He said, I'll send you the script. This was December. I said, you know, Jimmy, I'll be in Egypt in February. And he was living in southern France then. And he was to meet me in Egypt, and we were to go over the script before I went into the Middle East to get money to do the film. As Allah is my witness, he sent me the script. I read it. And when I saw Malcolm in bed with the white woman, I said, oh no. I said, I can't play that part. We got to fix this up. So if you notice, Spike kind of handled that, you know. He tried to handle it as gingerly as he could. But with me, he wouldn't have to handle it at all, because I wasn't going to get near no white woman in no scene like that. Because images mean a lot. Brother Akbar was with me. We were in Uganda with Idi Amin. Idi Amin called Muammar Gaddafi and told Gaddafi, I got a brother here that you have to meet. And they flew me from Egypt to Uganda, and from Uganda back to Libya on Idi Amin's plane. And we missed Gaddafi, and so he had me meet with his people. And when I told his people what I had in mind about a movie, did they mock me and kind of laugh, and I had to kind of beat them up a little bit? Nothing happening. I went to Mecca and sat with the scholars in Mecca about making a movie about Malcolm X's life. And the scholars looked at me and said, "It is against us."